The German manufacturers turn against the EU as they could relocate to Brexit Britain, and RyanAir's boss and Remainer Michael OLeary has a meltdown over Brexit. Well, after years and decades of running Europe, things are not looking good for Germany, and the whole European project for that matter, with European businesses and companies finally turning against Brussels. And so we will talk about this, but let's start talking about Priti Patel, because as you know, the establishment and civil service are plotting against her with various departments and top civil servants coordinating attacks on the Home Secretary. One of the reasons is because Priti is there to drain the swamp, essentially, and she's doing the sort of things that they don't really approve. For example, she's pushing for the reports to come out when it comes to the sort of incidents that's happened in Rotherham, Luton, Birmingham, with our children being at harm. And so the establishment are not really happy about this. There are a number of reasons for this. But today, during the Prime Minister's question, Boris Johnson, in a public sign to show his support for the Home Secretary, he decided to Priti right next to him, and which at the end caused a meltdown over the opposite Labour benches, with Labour MPs losing their mind, saying, "How dare you sit your Home Secretary next to yourself?" So Priti has Boris Johnson's public support. Thank you, Boris Johnson. Hopefully we could win this battle with the establishment trying their best to get rid of her. But before we start today's video, just a quick announcement. As you know, we have started our membership club on YouTube. A lot of people have questions about this. This is a premium club on the side of what we do on a daily basis. Our daily shows on the main channel remains free for all. That won't change. The premium side, obviously the club is to for a lot of people who want to obviously show support for this channel, but they want to get something back in return. There will be exclusive content on that side, which we'll be talking about a lot of deep issues that affect our culture and that we can't really talk about on the main channel. So don't worry, the daily channel stays as it is, free. But if you want to get more out of this, the whole thing, we have obviously the link in the description. You can join the club and you get a lot of benefits. Obviously, the members only live streams, Q&As. You will have social events and regular meetups, face-to-face meetups with me. Which reminds me, watch at the end of the video. We have a massive announcement when it comes to our nationwide tour, when it comes to Manchester. So make sure to watch the end of the video. Now, Germany. So the last few months, as Brexit became more certain, German manufacturers and other companies decided to show their opposition against the European Union's strategy. We remember headlines like this: hundreds of German companies call for EU to help as Brexit fears bite. German businesses already incurring Brexit losses, says an industry boss. German car makers warn hard Brexit will be fatal. And German companies suffer the Brexit extension. Well, we were told that Brexit is going to harm the UK, not Europe. We were told that the European Union are very united and very strong, and their economy will be fine. It's Britain that will be massively damaged. Well, where's the damage? Our economy is doing really well. Our job market is doing really well. It's the whole European continent that's kind of struggling, especially the German economy. Now, there is also a new possibility with German manufacturers possibly relocating to Brexit Britain after the December 2020 deadline, and there is one chance that could actually destroy the hopes of Angela Merkel in this whole saga if she's not careful. This is according to Douglas Carswell, a top Brexiteer, who said that imagine that you're a German car manufacturer and you have already seen a 5 to 7% decline in the European car market. But in a few years' time, you realize that if you relocate your factory to Sunderland, you will be able to sell your Audis, Mercedes tariff-free to the US. This is why I think a trade deal with America is so important and so significant. Up until now, the assumption to the EU side has been that this is a zero-sum game. An economy of 65 million people against an economy of 500 million people. So they're all waiting for this possible US-UK trade deal, which in my opinion will happen. It's just a matter of what sort of trade deal we're going to get, if it's going to be a basic trade deal or a deep partnership. And as Douglas said, these companies, especially German manufacturers, if they could have access to a market of 500 million people as opposed to the 60-65 in Europe, and that also includes Britain as well, one of the top customers, then it's going to be very difficult for the European Union to keep pushing for the soft Brexit trade deal. And we have now seen that both sides have started to basically negotiate their trade deal. The UK have sent 100 of their officials to Brussels to start the negotiations, and then following this, the European Union officials are going to come to London for the first time to hold these negotiations and Brexit talks, and the UK have already said that we are not going to be tied to the European Court of Justice or your customs union. We have said that we want to take full control, and there are already fears that these talks might actually collapse within the next few weeks, because we have said that, you know, when it comes to fishing, we're not going to give in. When it comes to the role of the European Court of Justice, we're not going to give in. And when it comes to the competition rules, which is basically protectionism. Well, it is protectionism, and the UK officials have gone to Brussels and said that we have made certain pledges in the last election to our British voters, and we can't really make a U-turn anymore. People have put their faith and trust in this government, and they've been betrayed by former governments and politicians and prime ministers. This is the time to win their trust back, and I'm pretty sure they're going to be strong against the EU demands. Hopefully will continue, because we have Liz Truss, the International Trade Secretary, who has now gone to the World Trade Organization and made a very good speech saying that a global Britain is back and we are going to fight against European protectionism and defend free trade. Yes, Liz Truss has vowed that Britain will lead a global crackdown on unfair trade practices and protectionism. Announcing that Britain is back, the cabinet minister used the address to position the UK as a world leader in setting standards in areas such as services and digital, and ensuring that WTO takes advantage of the digital revolution powering the global economy. She has said that she wants to turn the rise in protectionist measures around, and the more we allow people to shape their own lives, remove barriers to enterprise within and between nations, and allow humans to flourish, the more rewards we will have together. And the reason this issue is extremely important is because we have already seen the effects, the positive impact of free trade and free market capitalism across the world over the last 100 to 200 years. We know that there are facts and data showing that between 1820 to 2015, world population living in extreme poverty has gone massively down to, it's now less than 10% from about 93-94% back in the 1820s. So we should be happy that we now have people like Liz Truss in place who are massive champions of free trade and free markets to push this, to make sure we become global Britain whilst looking after our own nation first. And there's no issue with saying that UK comes first, and then obviously we also collaborate and cooperate with other countries, instead of having this globalist agenda of the European Union creating a fake United States of Europe. That's not what we want. We want our sovereignty and our democracy, and we will trade with other countries. Now, the whole Brexit deal, trade deal, could happen, or we could leave on WTO terms, but there are some Remainers who are losing their mind. Today we are talking about Michael OLeary, a boss of RyanAir and one of the chief Remainers, who's losing his mind again. So Michael OLeary has now said that UK negotiators are effing useless, and he said that the Brits have no negotiating effing powers, which will lead to food shortages and chaos on the streets, and Boris Johnson will be out of power. He said that this could end in two ways. The British could walk away, in which case they'll be abandoned and there will be no food in the supermarkets and everybody will die and Boris Johnson will lose his job, or we could actually get a deal and again we'll be worse off than the European Union. Well, I don't know what this guy actually wants. Nothing can make him happy, and my advice to him is focus on your own terrible airline, which needs a lot of improvements in this market. And this is coming from the same person who he owns RyanAir. He needs to be an expert to an extent when it comes to airport security. And a few days ago, he came out and said, when it comes to bad people coming through our borders and airport security checks, we should just focus on men because women and children can't do bad things. You said this publicly. You know what's going to happen now? All these groups and people are going to basically use women and children to do bad things. Idiot. So, but speaking of idiots, we also have Bernie Sanders coming out and saying, instead of focusing on his own election and getting the nomination from the Democrats, he said if he becomes president, he will try to frustrate the Brexit trade deal. He wants he wants to walk away from the US-UK trade talks, and he wants to also push and force Boris Johnson into accepting EU laws. Who are you to decide what the UK should do? We've already had Barack Obama a few years ago trying to interfere into our affairs, and now we have Bernie Sanders saying if he becomes president, firstly, good luck with that. There's the whole Democrats plotting against him, uniting behind Joe Biden. That's the first problem for him. Even if he gets the nomination, are you seriously going to beat Donald Trump? Don't think so. So this is what's happening now with Bernie Sanders focusing on Brexit for some reason. But it doesn't really matter. We are going to focus on everything else on this channel. As I said, we have an announcement. Our nationwide tour is going to start again in Manchester. As you guys remember, we did one in January in London, where we were joined by 500, 600 people from across the country and across the world, actually, and special guests like Steve Baker, Douglas Carswell, Nigel Evans, everybody, and that was a great night. We're going to start doing that again in Manchester. We are going to go around the country. We're coming to Wales, Scotland, North East, West Midlands, East Midlands, South West, everywhere. So the first tour, Manchester, I need a favour from you guys. Open your calendars, the 9th of April. Put in your calendars. In the next couple of days, we're going to finalise the details and let you know how you can register for that event. We're going to talk about free speech, Brexit, and everything that obviously involves this country and our freedoms. Also, if you want to join our membership club, which will give you a lot of benefits like members-only live streams, live Q&As, also social events and regular face-to-face meetups with me and exclusive content that you can't get on this channel. You can find the join button next to the subscribe button. Also, I'll put the link in the description. It's youtube.com/myitusi/join. But as I said before, their main channel remains free. There's no paywall. Everything will continue as it is on a daily basis. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click on that bell next to it, because we have our daily show at 5:45 p.m. And as I said, if you want to get this t-shirts, free speech, make sure you check out the link in the description for our merchandise page. We have these t-shirts, we have Brexit t-shirts and everything else. Check out the merchandise. As always, I'm Maya TC. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.